Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video, let's talk about episode 3 of how I personally come along learning a new airplane in Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you haven't seen the episodes 1 and 2 of this series yet, then I would absolutely recommend you to check those out first, where I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks of how I personally approach learning the flight preparation and everything before the flight, leading up to the point where we are in the video right now. So, in the video now, we have basically prepared everything. We've completed our before takeoff checklist, and we are about to go flying with the new airplane for the very first time. Now, this is obviously not going to be quite as easy as the previous episodes, because now it would be a whole lot of things to do before we actually can follow every single procedure. So that means that from now on we basically have to either do complete long flights, which is going to take quite a bit of time, or we just go ahead and start with a little bit of air work and start getting to know our airplane. And from my personal point of view, that is always how I would start. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take off and explore a little bit about the handling qualities of the airplane and practice a little bit flying it manually. All of that before we actually start using the autopilot for IFR flights at a later point in time. So, as said in the previous videos, we have completed all our procedures for our preparation and we are fully ready for takeoff now. Quick look into the manual, as always, is very much recommended, and this is what it says. We have a takeoff procedure here, which basically says put the throttles into the takeoff detent, check your engine instruments, then release the brake and rotate at VR plus 10 degrees initial pitch. So VR, we have that on our screen down here, is 95 knots on this flight. And then the after takeoff climb procedure we'll try to memorize, which is landing gear up, flaps up when we have V2 plus 12 and are clear of obstacles. Then we'll set climb thrust, engage the yaw damper, and then anti-ice and lights as required, and altimeter standard at the transition altitude. So, once again, fairly standard procedures here. Gear up, the flaps can go up when we have V2 plus 12, then we set our climb thrust, yaw damper on, and the rest really is standard stuff that you would do in any airplane. So, that basically means we have nothing, let's call it special over here in this plane. So let's go ahead, prepare our timer, and let's take off. So thrust is set, brake release. I'm always very careful on the first couple of rotations in order not to tail strike the airplane. And rotate. Gear up. So 400 feet, V2 plus 12, flaps up. We'll reduce our thrust a little bit, let's go 95%. Yaw damper can go on. Alright, and now everything I'm about to do now is just about exploring the handling qualities of my new airplane. So, let's turn into some kind of an extended traffic pattern here. Stop the climb at an altitude of 5,000 feet. Reduce thrust a little bit. Something around 60% works in most jet aircraft. And then, first of all, everything I'm about to do now is just about getting the right feeling for my airplane. So I aim to maintain 5,000 feet, which I just overshot already. And here we are, 5,000 feet. My thrust is really mostly set and forget for now. 60% N1. Perfect. Plane maintains a good speed, 200 knots. Alright, then let's do left hand turn, right hand turn. And generally just some aircraft handling exercises here. So it really flies like a well-balanced airplane. I do have the impression that I am getting a good feeling about how this plane flies. So let's go ahead then and try to climb at 1,000 foot a minute while maintaining the speed to get a feeling for the pitch axis as well, and how much thrust the plane needs. It really doesn't seem to be a lot here. 1,000 foot a minute, maintaining speed that is like 10% more than what I previously had. Right, flies nice. Let's do the same the other way around. Descent back to 5,000. Again, 1,000 foot a minute. But this really is pretty straightforward at the moment. At the same time, I'm making sure that we're staying close to the airfield so that we can come back for a couple of touch and goes later on. Okay, back at around about 5,000. So let's add full thrust and see how the airplane's gonna behave. Engines are pushing the nose down a little bit, so countering that with a little bit of trim. Accelerating 250 knots is the maximum that this plane can do, so let's try to fly it constantly at 245, just to get an impression of what high-speed flight feels in here. We also do left and right hand turn. But overall, we can see very nice handling qualities. So not really a lot that I could actually talk about here. Well, let's climb up to a higher altitude. I'll go back to 95% climb first. Time to flight level 100, and then we're going to do a little bit of slow speed flight in order to familiarize ourselves with the handling qualities at low speed. While we're doing this, it's always a good exercise to follow the 3-2-1 rule. We have 2,000 to go, should be 2,000 feet a minute. At the same time using thrust in order to maintain my airspeed. So that really gives me an opportunity to practice the panel scan with the airplane and just to get myself familiar a little bit more with the handling qualities of it. Right, I want to go. Let's do 1,000 foot a minute. At the same time, let's also do a turn to stay in the area of the airport. That complicates things a little bit further and makes the panel scan a little bit harder even, as we have one more item to look at right now. Right, let's roll out on the northerly heading here. Alright, 10,000 feet. So let's try out some of the stall characteristics of the airplane. Going to idle thrust now, maintaining 10,000. Note that I'm not trimming the airplane anymore right now, because now I really want to feel what it feels like when the thing is out of trim, and I don't want to trim it into a very slow airspeed either. So I'll just leave my trim speed at 200 knots. So approaching the end of the green band there. Let's see how it's gonna feel like. I do need quite a bit of back pressure on the control column right now, so still getting slower and slower. Even though it does feel pretty nice over here, in that it loses speed very slowly at these angle of attacks. That might be an indicator that it is pretty hard to actually stall this airplane. So, approaching the red band. Now I'm at full back control column, and the nose is just simply coming down. So very gentle characteristics here. Not actually going into a real stall. Okay. Let's recover this. Climbing back to 10,000 feet. In the meantime, I'm going to do a left-hand turn, turning back towards our departure airport. And then when we are on the southerly heading, we are going to do the same thing with the gear and flaps extended and see how the aircraft is going to behave then. Well, I'll just keep the speed around 150 here. Alright, on a southerly heading. Trim the airplane out. So now, let's take the flaps into the takeoff approach. A little bit of ballooning there, it seems. But a little bit of trim and the thing is flying well again. Okay then, let's start our speed reduction once more. Landing gear down. Landing flaps. Okay, let's see how it is going to behave this time. Speed is going down much more rapidly, as is expected, of course. I'm surprised not to hear a stall warning right now. Ah, there we are. But again, the nose is coming down, that's it. Okay, recover. Right, let's try one more of these stalls, and this time we'll try not to lose any altitude, while at the same time recovering the moment our speed hits the red band. (10,000 feet is our target altitude once again. And here we are. So, idle thrust. And recover. Okay, so we've lost like 140 feet. But that is alright, that is within the limits. At least for flight simulation, for me it is within the limits. Right, so approach flaps, gear up. And flaps up. Okay, so the next thing that I want to familiarize myself with is how the airplane is going to feel in a normal descent and what kind of descent rates it can achieve. So I'm accelerating it back to a normal speed that I would expect, and then we'll start our descent back into the direction of the traffic pattern. So I did a little bit of research in the manuals before, and normal descent rate seems to be around about 2,000 feet a minute, with a high-speed descent option for 3,000 feet a minute. So that actually enables us to do pretty steep descents. Airplane handling seems to be pretty nice. Let's see what we can do if we go for an idle thrust descent. It is always nice to know what kind of reserves your airplane might have. So, you can see here 3,800 feet a minute easily, while maintaining a rather slow speed as well. At the same time, let's try out the speed brakes, see what we can get then. Speed brakes are out now. Okay, 7,000 feet a minute, that's all I need to know. That is all I need to know. So this thing can actually fall from the skies like a brick. Then let's steer back into the general direction of our destination airport. I'm going to add a little bit more thrust in again. Let's go for a 1,000 feet a minute descent here, because we still have a little bit of reading in the manuals to do. The next exercise that we will have to do is going to be a couple of touch and goes in order to familiarize ourselves with the handling characteristics of the aircraft. So while we are about to do that, we'll actually do it in the next video, because this one is getting quite lengthy already. So for now, thank you everyone for joining. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode about general aircraft handling familiarization. and the basic exercises that I would aim to do in any case. And it doesn't matter, by the way, if you're flying or if you're learning to fly a small Cessna, or if you're learning to fly an Airbus A380. This is the kind of exercises that I would in any case do in order to familiarize myself with some of the general handling characteristics of my new airplane. So, that said, if you do want to support the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and also click that little bell next to the subscribe button so that you actually get notified about new videos that I upload. In the meantime, thank you very much everyone for joining, and if you really love what I'm doing, there is a donation link through Buy Me a Coffee in the video description below, and if you want to support the channel on a permanent basis, you can join my Patreon crew. Thank you very much for joining, and now enjoy learning your own new aircraft.